Okay. Okay, we on live now, Brian. I'm just gonna set up my actual my page so that way I can monitor the live chat as well. My page so that way I can monitor. Have my dog on what you call it connected. Hold on, let me turn this down too. This thing when you streaming, you got to make sure all your volume is down on your other stuff. Let me see here.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, just a minute now. Okay, now we're in the building. Okay, thank you for everybody that's tuning in. I believe most people are going to be asleep around this time, so I imagine most of the consumption will be on a live stream rebroadcast. But today, we're going to talk about the Age of Aquarius. Let me turn off this thing real quick. Okay, Age of Aquarius. So just to give a little backdrop, greetings to everybody in the live stream right now. This is an impromptu stream. I figured, hey, I was up. I'm off tonight. Might as well get on for a little bit and talk a little bit. So again, those of you that are just tuning in, as the description says, we're going to be having a stream about the Age of Aquarius. And what is the Age of Aquarius? Well, the Age of Aquarius is an astrological term denoting either the current or forthcoming astrological age. Depending on the method of calculation, astrologers maintain that an astrological age is a product of the Earth's slow precessional rotation and lasts for 2,160 years on average. There are various methods of calculating the length of the astrological age in sun sign astrology. The first sign is Aries, followed by Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. Whereupon the cycle returns to Aries and through the zodiacal signs again. Astrological ages, however, proceed in the opposite direction, i.e., retrograde in astronomy. Therefore, the age of Aquarius follows the age of Pisces. Okay. So the approximate 2,150 years for each age corresponds to the average time it takes for the vernal equinox to move from one constellation of the zodiac into the next. This can be computed by dividing the Earth's 25,800 year gyroscopic precession period by 12, the number of zodiac constellations used by astrologers. According to different astrologers' calculations, approximate dates for entering the age of Aquarius range from AD 1447 to AD 3597. So we're kind of in the middle of those two time periods. Astrologers do not agree, however, on when the Aquarian age will start or even if it has already started. Nicholas Campion, in the Book of World Horoscopes, lists various references from mainly astrological sources for the start of the Age of Aquarius. Based on Campion's research, most published materials on the subject state that the Age of Aquarius arrived in the 20th century, 29 claims, with the 24th century in second place with 12 claimants. Bear with me, I'm wrapping this up. Astrological ages exist as a result of precession of equinoxes. The slow wobble of the Earth's spin axis on a celestial sphere is independent of its diurnal rotation of the Earth on its own axis and the annual revolution of the Earth around the Sun. Traditionally, This 25,000-year-long cycle is calibrated for the purposes of determining astrological ages by the location of the sun in one of the 12 zodiac constellations at the vernal equinox, which corresponds to the moment the sun rises above the celestial equator, making the start of the spring in its northern hemisphere each year. Roughly every 2,150 years, the sun's position at the time of the vernal equinox will have moved into a new zodiacal constellation. However, the zodiacal constellations are not uniform in size, leading some astrologers to believe that the corresponding ages should also vary in duration. This, however, is a contentious issue among astrologers. So, how does that pertain to the stream today? Age of Aquarius. In particular, astrologers believe that an astrological age affects humanity, possibly by influencing the rise and fall of civilizations or cultural tendencies. Traditionally, Aquarius is associated with electricity, computers, flight, democracy, freedom, humanitarianism, idealism, modernization, astrology, nervous disorders, rebellion, nonconformity, philanthropy, veracity, perseverance, humanity, and irresolution. So when we look at society today, humanity today, the world today, we are entering into the age of Aquarius, or we may be well into it. And why I say that is because when we talk about automation, which is already upon us, we already have in existence rudimentary forms of automation. It's been in existence for quite some time. This is where mass production comes from. This is how we're able to produce cars at the rate that we produce them worldwide. Is because of rudimentary forms of automation. What automation does is it takes repetitive tasks and it replaces the human component with machinery. So say, for instance, there's a particular screw that needs to be screwed in on body panels. The same screw over and over and over again, same exact location on the body panels. Instead of implementing a human, you can utilize a machinery to do it. Now, the machinery, of course, is going to have initial capital investments that exceed the cost of hiring someone and training. But the machine will eventually pay for itself because you don't have to pay the machine. You don't have to provide health insurance for the machine. You don't have to provide sick leave for the machine. You don't have to provide training for the machine. And you don't have to worry about the machine actually filing a lawsuit against you as an entity. Because if the machine gets quote unquote damaged, which would be the human equivalency or the machine's equivalency of a human being injured, then you just hire someone to fix it. And that could be done at a cost, as opposed to paying someone into perpetuity for workman's compensation, which often occurs in industries where they employ humans to do dangerous jobs. So as we go into the age of Aquarius with automation well upon us, how does that affect civilization and humanity for the years to come? One of the things that we'll see go first are going to be the most simplistic of jobs, entry-level positions. Some of these jobs are frequently uh, occupied by people with little to no education, little to no specialized skills, individuals who have perhaps criminal records or checkered pasts that prevent them from being gainfully employed at a conventional occupation. An example of this is a warehouse job. I myself worked at a warehouse years ago. The job itself require very little training unless you're working driving a forklift, as I was at one time. There are various echelons of skill, but even the most complex jobs at the warehouse, outside of management, obviously, uh, can be done with at the most a week, 2 weeks of training. Some of the positions, such as what you would consider order picking, can be trained in one day, maybe even half a day. Most of your time spent in orientation will be doing paperwork, signing insurance papers and W-2s and things of that nature. But the actual job training itself is very brief because extensive training is not necessary. A lot of the actions you do are repetitive. This automation can actually translate now to truck driving as we enter the age of autonomous vehicles. Now, truck driving itself is not a simplistic task. It does require great skill, as we can see by the amount of accidents on the road. Uh, Being able to drive is a natural skill that needs to be honed and perfected. Some people will never be good drivers. But now that we have automation and we have computers who can actually pilot vehicles for us to a certain degree, now even the truck drivers may be threatened. Their jobs potentially going to automated trucks, some of which are in the process of being tested as we speak. I believe Volvo, Mercedes, as well as Tesla. I may be wrong on Tesla, but I believe Tesla as well is testing autonomous trucks, commercial trucks. Some people will call them 18 wheelers. So when we look at the actual progression of automation and the elimination of jobs, that when we look at the actual population distribution, most people are in unskilled labor. Believe it or not, most people are in unskilled labor. And what I mean by unskilled labor, these are jobs that don't require extensive training to actually be able to do. These jobs don't require college educations or complex trade schools. Most of these jobs are actually filled by people who receive on-the-job training. They can come in with merely a high school diploma and be employed, or GED. So when we look at the amount of people actually employed by these entry-level positions and the threat of elimination of these positions, what will these people then do? If these jobs are occupied by automated machinery, computerized components performing these functions, another example is call centers, the individuals that were once employed in these entry-level positions will now have to seek employment elsewhere. Either they can go back to school, learn a specific trade, or they'll resort to criminality or rely on subsistence from the government. Enter living wage. Strong possibility where the government will have to disseminate funds to care for people who do not have basic skills. Now you say basic skills will get you entry level position. Well, the definition of basic skills will now change. What was once considered basic will now be considered nothing. What was once considered specialized will then be considered basic. Some of us who have gone to trade schools and community colleges for 2 years of education, that will be considered the standard. That will be considered the new basic. That will be considered entry level. That will be the bare minimum required to actually be employed at an occupation. It sounds pretty far-fetched, but in actuality, it's very realistic. College education will be the norm, will be the bare minimum. Unless you plan to be an entrepreneur, and then actually, even being an entrepreneur, the price of admission will go up. In order to compete with entities that utilize automation, the capital upstart costs will be astronomical. For the private business owner or the aspiring private business owner, you would have to have the capital to invest in automated machinery, automated computers, which will not be cheap. Because in order to compete with larger businesses that actually utilize automated services, you will have to utilize automated services as well in order to maintain that profit margin, in order to maintain fiduciary solvency. So now that's going to affect the little man as well. When we look at what's called a living wage, very similar to welfare. But even though there's able-bodied people on welfare now, but there will be able-bodied individuals who actually want to work but just can't get a job. The employers won't be able to afford a human employee anymore. It just won't be worth the money. The liability involved with employing humans. And then when we look at autonomous cars, the only roadblock to autonomous cars is human drivers, human pedestrians, the human element and component. That's what the roadblock is. Because the accidents that have occurred with autonomous car testing have been because of human error. People walking across the street, people in a car in another lane, people running red lights, and a machine's inability to adjust on the fly. Enter yet another problem. Automation will have to advance if it's to be efficient and effective. Computer programming will have to be fluid and dynamic, able to adjust to external stimuli, able to receive and interpret external stimuli, and make judgments based on programming, dynamic programming. What am I saying? I'm talking about computer sentience. Terminator 2, iRobot, Ex Machina. Yeah, we're talking about stuff like that. Because programmers will push closer and closer and closer to sentience in order to increase efficiency. But then they'll eventually get to the tipping point where computers can actually act completely autonomously without human intervention. Imagine computers rewriting their own programming to become more efficient. Dangerous proposition. What do you think about what I've said so far, Bitcoin?
Oh man, you are 1000% right, man. I actually have. Can you hear me pretty good?
Okay, your voice is fading out now. I don't know. Are
Hold,
you
hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second.
okay?
Okay, is that better?
That's way better. There we go.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You're 1000% right, man. Actually, I have a personal connection to all those things that you were talking about. Um, And it's almost like it's kind of like destiny, man. That my life has brought me in such a on such a path.
Now, let me just ask you, Bitcoin Brian, before you continue: is it art imitating life, or life imitating art? Because we've seen this in movies before. We've seen it before.
Yeah.
Star Trek. Let's go back to Star Trek. Star
Yeah.
Trek was the first Nextel chirp.
Yeah.
That little thing, that little lapel on their leotard, that was Nextel chirp.
You're right.
The actual what is that mechanism that can create any type of food? You know what I'm talking about? They like when they want something to eat, they go up to that little thing in the wall, and it pops out a meal.
Yeah. 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 I know you're talking about. Yeah.
Now in Star Trek, the actual technology behind that actual mechanism was base amino acids, and somehow this machine was able to assemble amino acids into complex proteins, giving texture and taste to food.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what food is. Basically, food is composed of, proteins. Well, at least meat is, and then you have other, components, starches. But they're basically, molecules and amino acids that are actually joined together. When we look at the actual base materials, there's only so many base materials for organic food sources,
Mm-hmm.
right? When we look at the actual food that we eat, the organic food sources are composed of certain atoms and certain molecules, the same ones, they're just different in different configurations, because only certain stuff we as humans can utilize as a nutrient source and energy source. So once you actually establish what those base materials are, you can construct almost anything, just like a set of Legos, right? You can get a set of Legos that's meant to build one thing, but you can take those Legos apart, you can build something else with them, because they're just base materials. It's just how you configure them.
Yep.
So my question again is, Bitcoin, is it art imitating life, or life imitating art?
I think it might be a little bit of both. I don't. A lot of this technology that's out there, I don't think that we're the first ones to discover it. Um, I think a lot of this technology has been there, has has been there. We just we are kind of discovering it to an extent, but I don't think we're the first ones to use it or first ones to, um, have an experience with it. Um, I've been privy to work for Tesla. This time last year, I was working for Tesla. I worked for Tesla for about a year and a half. And when I tell you they have stuff out there that people have no idea, I've seen it with my own eyes when it comes to automation, when it comes to AI, when it comes to um, a more simpler term. Some people can say algorithm, but a more simpler term is called machine learning. And you're going to hear that term a lot more. Machine learning is more, it's just what it says, machine learning. So the more a machine produces and the more it takes data and analyzes it, the better and more efficient it will be. Just like a child or just like anything else. Um, you know, for example, if you had a machine that was like you used example earlier that, put, did a certain task, at first it might be only doing that task maybe 50 per hour. But after a year, it can be doing 1,000 per hour because it's learned an easier and a more efficient way to do it. And these programmers are um, setting it up to a certain way to where it's learning how to do things faster and better. Um, I actually talked to, and like I said, I'm real techie. I'm into this tech stuff, man. So this kind of stuff is, I like talking about it. But um, even when it comes to the stock market, cryptocurrencies, these bots. things of that nature. They're using it in that area in that arena as well. So myself and some other guys, we're doing some things as far as machine learning. That's the word we like to use, because a lot of these other words are a little more complicated for your average person. So we just say machine learning. So machine learning is we're using it as a now to make money, earn income, and things of that nature. Setting ourselves up for the future. Because like you said, it's going to be very, very hard. These machines are going to be taking your average jobs away. So I've been fortunate enough to where my particular job is more so on the personal side, so where a machine won't really. I mean, not now. Maybe in the next 20, 25 years, possibly so. I don't know, but I would say within the next 20 years, I should be okay. But I'm already trying to set myself up now to hedge that off. But yeah, it's some stuff out there, man. Man, I put it like this: by the year 2020, we're only in 18. We're almost in 19. In 1 year, I'll say a year to a year and a half, you'll be able to drive a car from LA to New York and never have to touch the steering wheel. Not one time. Never. That's only a year and a half, 2 years away. That's not a long time. So it's some things coming that people have no idea. Things are gonna be changing technologically in the next 2 years. 2020 is gonna be a crazy year, man. It's just gonna be crazy.
Now, you mentioned something very important. In respect to Dave Tao, he's in the building. Mark Cuban was talking about that a while ago. Yes. Um, you spoke of machine learning and the ability of a machine to increase inefficiency at doing a particular task. That is on the cusp of sentience. When a machine is actually able to take in external stimuli and interpret it, then adjust programming that reflects the modification it needs to make to be efficient in said environment. This is what we as humans do. We perceive the world around us. We take in information, external stimuli. We interpret that external stimuli in our central nervous system. If a situation is dangerous, we either avoid it or we tread lightly. Either way, we're making an adjustment based on our interpretation of our environment. Now, what you said about machine learning is just that. Now, what if the machine determines that humanity itself is an impedance to efficiency? Are our lives then forfeit for the sake of machine efficiency? What do you think, Brian?
At that point in the game, I think yes, you're exactly right. I would hope that some very smart humans would not um, allow it to get to that point to where machines can, um, you know, kind of, you know, choose our destiny or our fate in a machine's hands. But um, there are several people out there that they're so geared and hooked on these machines that you never know, man. You never know. Um, um, it's 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 cool, but it's scary at the same time, because even though it's still several years out, you still have to think about the people behind us. I do have one son, and family members, and in the next 20 years, I mean, I mean, God knows, what's what's going to come into play. I mean, I would hope that things would be, you know, very more humanized and not, you know, with these machines. But it's moving fast. It's moving very, very fast. And even with that, it's also when you start talking about machine learning, they still have programmers. So you still have a small amount of people that can, even though they're human, they can still control the fate of several million people just at the touch of a button.
Mm, mm.
You know, um, say for instance, if you have a computer program with this algorithm and is controlling, just say for instance, cryptocurrencies, you know, and you have someone who develops a program or software, and at one point it gets big, 10 years down the line, he's controlled this guy, this one person or this one group of programmers are controlling $20 trillion. They can flip the switch, shut it off. Now what you got? And it's all crypto, it's all digital, or someone could, with Tesla, they can, it's going to be a grid before too long. It's going to be a grid. I'll say within the next 20 years, it's going to be a grid. They're going to know exactly where every car is. The grid is going to be able to um, pinpoint cars at any point. You flip that grid off, or you switch the grid. Now what? You know. So just things you got to think about. Even like I said, yes, with machines, but also when you have people that are controlling these things behind the scenes, and it's only a certain amount of people controlling them, and a certain skill set. You know.
Then there'll only be, let me see what David Chow says. The world is going global and everything connected like a spider web. Exactly. Exactly. And well, I would argue that the world is global, not going global, but is global already.
That's global. Yeah.
The only thing that really uh, slows down the connectivity is the actual, let's see, some of the technology. I'll say that it's still, in order to get from point A to point B, still takes time.
And that's
Now
going
we're
to change as
connected.
well.
We're connected digitally. We're connected digitally already, but the actual in-person experience is limited by technology currently. But they're working on that because I
Transportation
believe
is going to change as well. You got the hyperloop.
Hyperloop and the return of the supersonic aircraft.
Exactly.
Well, I would say the return of the supersonic commercial airliner
Yeah.
because there's always been supersonic aircraft, but since the Concorde, when did that Concorde go away? Like 2001, somewhere around there.
Yeah, it was a while ago. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while since the Concorde, took flight, but
Yeah. But it's
they're
coming back.
returning with another supersonic, and probably by around 2026, we'll see like the first maiden voyage, and the return of supersonic flight, which will allow people to get from point A to point B a lot quicker, especially when we're talking about hemisphere to hemisphere activity. Uh, One of the things that is concerning when we talk about automation and its impact on society, the elimination of entry level positions and entry level jobs, even jobs in echelon or two beyond entry level, will go the way of the dodo bird. These people will be left without gainful employment and relying on government subsistence, i.e., living wage. I would imagine this wage is just enough to get by. There won't be any excess for any extravagance, but it will be enough to feed, clothe, and shelter each person on the planet. Now, when we talk about people being unemployed, there's a certain element within the human psyche that yearns to be needed. We yearn to be industrious to a certain extent. Even the most laziest of individuals, they desire to be needed. They desire to be valued. Without gainful employment, the possibilities for that are very limited because you don't even have the basic initiative to go work anymore because there's no job to get. Then that will allow people I would imagine to get more obese, more unhealthy, or replace that lack of utility with unproductive activities. I'll say that. Furthermore, people born into poverty with no prospects of actually getting a job or even starting a business, those populations of people will then be exploited by people who have money, the owners, the elite. Similar situation to the individuals that live in other countries. People who go to countries that are still developing, people have visited these countries, they understand exactly what I'm talking about. See, our concept of poverty here in the United States is very skewed. Let me be clear. If you live in the United States, most likely you don't know what poverty is. Let me say that again. If you live in the United States and you consider yourself poor, you don't know what poverty is. Go to another country where they literally have nothing. Some places on the interior of Africa, ridden by disease and famine. The nearest inkling of civilization, far too far to walk. There's nobody in your village owns a vehicle. You can't get there. You're too sickly to go there, even if you wanted to anyway. True hopelessness. At least here in the United States, there's hope. But some places, there is no hope. If you're born there, you're destined to fail. The only way you will get out is somebody came there and saved you because you don't have the facilities to save yourself. So when we look at some of those countries, even a couple of echelons above that level of poverty, look at some of the favelas in Brazil. Look at some of the areas in Thailand, some areas in the Philippines. Those people are exploited. Some of those people do the unthinkable, sell their own children. And for people here in the United States, that's unfathomable. Why? Because you've never experienced that level of poverty. Don't judge them. Because we, at one point, can be there too. It doesn't take much. Most people in the United States are at the mercy of the elite. That faucet is turned off, we're doomed. Most of us don't have the skills to actually provide for themselves and live off the land. We're far too assimilated and too accustomed to culture in a developed and industrialized world. What do you think about that, Bitcoin? Bitcoin, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh yeah, your mic was on mute. What do you think about that, Brian?
Yeah, you're exactly right, man. I've had the privilege to travel to many of these countries that you speak of, and man, I tell you, you're exactly right, man. Um, most people they have no idea. They might speak it, but they have no idea what poverty is until they go and see it for themselves. It's one thing you can watch TV and see movies or even the news, but until you're there and you see it for yourself, man, it's a real eye opener.
When we look at the immediate effects of automation, people without jobs, people turn to the human element to blame. They look at immigrants as a threat to their ability to be gainfully employed. But I beg to differ in that regard because I believe an influx of individuals seeking refuge in this country simply means there's more consumers to provide goods and services for. The influx of immigrants is an opportunity. Now, I do have a problem with the fact that immigrants are allowed to enter this country and are not taxed. Anyone in this country, immigrant or not, takes advantages of services provided by the government, paid for by the taxpayer. Police department, fire department, emergency medical services, transportation infrastructure. These are things that are paid for by citizens who pay taxes. Immigrants who enter this country illegally circumvent the taxation system, therefore take advantages of these services provided by the government, funded by the taxpayer, free of charge. Now, in that regard, I think that's a problem, but that's an easy fix. It's easy to tap into the immigrant population and facilitate collection of taxes to pay for the services that they actually utilize. That's the easy fix. So outside of that, what is the real problem with immigrants, quote unquote, taking the jobs when as they take jobs, they actually create them by adding to the consumer base? I think as automation rises, the strife between different ethnic groups will reach a boiling point. I think that desperation will lead to scapegoating, ethnic conflicts, perhaps even the verge of war. What do you think about that, Bitcoin?
Yeah, man. Hold on one second. Okay. I don't know why my phone keeps when I first get on it starts to echo, but yeah, man. I think that here in the future, though that all those elements will into play. Um, you know, and when it comes to immigrants, I'm on the same page as you. Um, you know, they are a part. They will become a part of the, you know, of the economy. You know, like I said, like you said, the um, illegally coming in illegally and not paying taxes and things of that nature on a mass scale. Yeah, that's an easy fix, but um, yeah, they will become consumers and um, they will they will rely on goods and services, um, things of that nature. So, I don't really believe the current situation is the right way to go, but that's just me. But
And
um,
what situation are you referring to when you say the current situation being not being the right way to go?
just as far as what the government is trying to portray as, these people are invading or coming from another country. You really think these people, walking 2,000 miles on foot, really coming to, you know, um, pillage and rape and things of that nature? No, these people coming because they're these people are just trying to live. you know, they're just trying to live. So
Well,
um,
also considering the fact that this country was founded on immigration.
exactly, you're exactly right.
Some immigration was forced. They
You're
actually
exactly right.
forced some people to immigrate here. Now they don't want people to come here at all,
Yeah. So
or at least certain demographics of people.
yeah, certain demographics. You're right. Certain demographics of people.
Because there's people that immigrate here, right? And because of their phenotypical appearance, they're not considered immigrants.
You're exactly right.
But other demographics are persecuted just for their mere presence.
That's it.
And when we look at crime statistics for illegal immigrants, they're considerably lower than people who are citizens of the United States. People who are immigrants are generally speaking on their best behavior. They come here for that specific reason, most of the time, to escape the conflicts that are prevalent in their home countries. They come to America for a chance to tap into capitalism. The American dream is what they seek. And if America's as good as it touts itself to be, who could blame them? Now, with America's history with immigrancy, the question then becomes, how do we control it? Because when you try to stop certain things, people just find ways around it. Human beings are very ingenious. Tunnels will be built, boats crafted. Hell, you might even see a drone deliver an immigrant one of these days. It may get to that point, but they're going to find a way to get into this country. So why not facilitate their entry into this country under your terms? Create a path of entry. Not necessarily a path to citizenship, but a path to actual legal residency with limited rights but similar responsibilities to inhabitants here. You create an identification process, you issue it, a card of some sort. You mandate monthly check-in periods. And you already have the infrastructure to do it. You just need to augment it. It's called the DMV. You got one, at least one in every city. They already have the mechanism to issue identification cards. Why not utilize that as a source to actually monitor immigration? Have them check in on a monthly basis. And at that time, they'll pay a fee. That fee will supplant taxes that they would pay had they been American citizens. This will eliminate the diverting of resources to people who are not citizens, the diverting of resources to people who didn't pay into the pot. Now we'll create a separate pot, a pot for immigrants. And immigrants will fund that pot. Come into this country, it's going to cost you. You're going to pay a fee every month. And that fee is going to take care of the services that you utilize. It's going to take care of the personnel tasked with monitoring your presence here in the United States. Come in every month, you update your identification card, run your fingerprints again, and then you pay your fee. That's how you handle illegal immigrants. That in itself will create additional jobs at no cost to the taxpayer. Any cost incurred will be transferred to the illegal immigrant seeking refuge in this country. It's too easy.
How my grandmother say that's too much like right.
Excuse me?
I said my grandmother would say that's too much like right, you know?
Yeah.
You know, people, it's a simple solution, but it's crazy how they won't even go that route.
And then you eliminate I'm not sure exactly what it's called. I don't want to misstate it, but basically conceptually, an individual born in the United States is automatically granted citizenship. You know, I'm not sure exactly what that law, statute, or legislation is called, but that needs to be eliminated. Being born in the United States should not automatically grant you citizenship. Because then you have people who intentionally come to the United States, have a child here, so their child will be granted citizenship, and then complain when they're separated from their children, when they're deported. You just eliminate that. You're not a citizen, neither are your children. Now, here's the way you go to apply for legal residency. That's how you present that. That's how you present illegal immigrants with that problem. No, you're not a citizen, but hey, we have a path for you to have legal residency. This is the way you go about doing it. It's going to cost you. It's going to cost you. There's a facility in or a compound, and I'm trying to remember where it's at in Texas. There is a actual compound in Texas that is currently housing illegal immigrant minors or dependents of illegal immigrants. Whether or not the actual individuals at that particular camp or compound have citizenship status is I'm uncertain of that. But there is a place, it's in Texas, and I'm trying to remember the place in Texas where it's at. Give me a minute, let me look this up.
Is the word you was looking for earlier amnesty? The amnesty laws?
Is that what it's called?
I think so.
Here we go, Texas Immigrant Compound. It came right up when I typed it in. Let me see, it's in South Texas. Let me see, where is this at? Tornillo, Texas. Tornillo Detention Facility. That's what it's called. Tornillo Detention Facility. That's in South Texas. Middle of nowhere. They have a detention facility. And I believe last time I checked, it was well over 2,000, maybe 2,500 minors. And when we talk about minors, you know, different contexts may change the actual age of what is considered a minor. In some instances, a minor is anything under 16. 16 years or younger may be considered minor. Some instances, it may be 17. Some instances, it may be 18. Some instances, it may be 21. And in some instances, it may even be 25 and under. So I'm not sure exactly what that age range is at that particular facility, but I do know there's well over 2,000 individuals housed at that compound. Who's paying for it? We are. Now, instead of housing those individuals at a compound, having to pay for their food, having to pay for educational instruction, having to pay for their clothing, having to pay for the compound itself, paying for the security tasked with guarding that compound, all that is incurred by taxpayers. Good morning, Poetic Kells. We on it early. So why not tap into to the immigrants themselves, to the parents of those children? Where are they at? A child should be with his parents, not in a compound surrounded by armed guards, as if they're criminals. These are children. The mere housing of them at a detention center is traumatizing, let alone the acts of depravity I guarantee you are occurring there. I guarantee it. Any facility or compound where children are housed at, there is depravity occurring. That's fact. Every juvenile detention center, group home, you name it. It's kids that are getting violated. And it doesn't have to happen. You reunite those children with their parents, and you task the parents with feeding, clothing, and sheltering those children. This shouldn't be the taxpayer's responsibility. And I know there are people who are sympathizers with illegal immigrants. I know they're out there. And they're probably going to listen to this and they're going to say, this guy has no heart. Well, I got a solution for that, Bitcoin.
What's the solution?
What's the solution? This is what we do. This is what we do. Okay. So at the tax season, that's coming up right now. April will be on us before you know it. When they're filing their taxes, they can make adjustments for the upcoming year. Now they're able to they should be able to actually allocate a portion of their pre-tax income and set it aside to assist illegal immigrants. Those are the sympathizers. People who say, oh, we just let them on. Okay. Now, we're going to put the ball in your court. We're going to hold you accountable. Since you think that programs that assist illegal immigrants should be funded, well, we're going to give you the opportunity to fund it yourself. Anyone who thinks that programs should be implemented for illegal immigrants, give them opportunity to allocate said funds pre-tax from their annual incomes, tax deductible donations, and see how much money will be in the pot then. When you specifically say, okay, this is a program that you want, pay for it. What'll happen then? I guarantee you the amount of money will be very minimal. Because everybody wants programs, everybody wants, funding, but nobody wants to pay for it. Nothing is free. So if you want to help the situation, open up your pockets. That's how you do that. And if you're not prepared to do that, well, you're not really trying to help. What do you think about that, Bitcoin?
Yeah, you're exactly right. It, it's not not many people going to pay when it comes to that, but they want to complain about the taxes, you know, or the lack of facilities or the facilities that they do have, and they're quote unquote paying is coming out of our tax dollars. But you're right. If they left them with the opportunity to say, hey, we're going to give you the opportunity to you know um, volunteer some funds, yeah, it would be very, very minimal because they talk a good game, but when it comes down to it, when it comes down to crunch time, no, it ain't, not so much. It kind of fall back into the shadows.
Yeah, and I think that's what really needs to be done. When people start complaining about certain things, okay, how do you propose we fix it, and who's paying for it? That's how you shut all that nonsense down. If it's truly an issue of contention, people will rise to the occasion and make it happen. If not, it will go away. That's it. If it truly matters to you, put your money where your mouth is. We as a society have to come to terms with the fact that not everybody can be saved. Let me say that again. As a society, we must come to terms with the reality that not everyone can be saved. There has to be casualties. The herd must be thinned. This is how we evolve as a species. What doesn't work is eliminated from the lineage. It's called natural selection, but we as humans continually interfere with it. Now we're in the age of Aquarius. Automation is upon us. There will be no room in this world for the weak. There will be no room in this world for the slovenly. Those that lack initiative will just be in the way. Now, when the living wage is implemented, oh, and it will be implemented at some point, the money will have to come from somewhere, or I should say, the resources. Currency will be just a mere formality at that point, because all the currency will be crypto anyway. It'll all be online and digitized. So then the question will be is what will the powers that be allow from the general populace relying on subsistence from the government, from the haves? Because they won't actually be productive members of society. They'll be collecting a living wage. The individuals that are productive are going to be the owners and the creators, programmers and individuals of that like that actually contribute to the machinery. So this opens up essentially a can of worms, because Then the question will be, to what lengths will the government go, or to what lengths will the elite go to control the population? Because there won't be a need for a large population. I think population will begin to stagnate at some point because there won't be any need for it. And I wonder, would the government go through the lengths of perhaps even controlling the birth rate once human labor is not necessarily needed? What do you think about that, Bitcoin?
Yeah. Other situations, other countries have implemented things of that sort. What is that? Is it China? What country is that they have the limit? You're limited to a family or a household. What country is that? Is it China?
China, the one-child policy.
I didn't hear you.
You said you're talking about the one-child policy in China?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's one child, but I know it's something similar to that.
Yeah, one child.
Yeah, so I
Now
can't
there
see
are
it.
certain extenuating circumstances if they have a second child, but for most of the population, they're limited to one child. Now there are people who actually, like any law, statute, or ordinance, people do find ways to circumvent the system. Maybe hide children, maybe ship children off to distant locations and things of that nature.
Yeah, but it will curve, but it has curved their population. Um, and and I can see something like that in the future. Um, in this situation or in our situation, as far as the United States is concerned, if it gets out of hand, or if they deem it, they deem it necessary, the government, quote unquote. Um, hopefully by that time I'll be long gone. I'll be in another country, or hopefully, or maybe it might be beyond my lifetime. But I can see something, a similar situation, um, when you're talking about the population and the people we have on this in this country, and the needs, and like you said earlier, the you know at some point you need to step up or step out. You know what I'm saying? You got to take some initiative and step up and be a productive person in society.
If you wanted to get on the panel, uh, just shoot your email, and I can send you a link if you really want to get on. So I think we've scared people enough with the actual possibilities that the future holds in the age of Aquarius. Let me ask you, Brian, in your opinion, I have some ideas myself, but what do you think the general populace can do to shield themselves from automation?
To shield themselves from automation.
Yes, the general populace, people.
In my opinion, as a whole, I don't think it'll be anything they can do. Um, on an individual level, yes, of course, but um, you have you know certain people that just people, you know, a lot of older people, they don't like change. They don't like to see change. They don't like to conform to change. We have a lot of people that are the baby boomers and things of that nature. They don't really conform to change too well. They just assume deal with it and live the way they've been living. So as a mass situation, I don't really see it. Um, you know, the up and coming generation, yes, but um, it'll kind of be more of a weeding out of you know, the baby boomers and things of that nature as time progresses. And you know, I would hope and pray that it doesn't, you know, come as fast as we think, which is does seems like it's doing. It's coming faster than we've ever imagined. Um, it's a lot of technology out there. It's always, you know, I used to always hear people say that, hey man, it's the government has technology that we've never seen, and they're 10 years ahead of us, and all this and all that. I used to always hear people say that, but until I actually seen it, not even from a government standpoint, but from, like I said, working with Tesla and working out there in that area with the technology that's out there that is just more so on a private sector level that hadn't even been implemented in the workplace or in the general population. You know, it's crazy. So it's coming fast, and yeah, on an individual level, I think it could, you know, some things can be done, but as a whole, it's going to be it's several people that don't even want to. They don't want to change. They don't want to see anything different from now to what they're doing. They just assume, you know, keep their checkbooks and you know, they rather their insurance man come to the door and they write the policy at the front door. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's just kind of the way a lot of people are, you know, in this country, and they have to conform to change. They have to accept change and ride with it, or you're gonna be left behind, and it's gonna make it harder for many people out there.
And I think part of the problem is that this just creeped up upon us so rapidly. Like the actual technology advancement has occurred so rapidly. I think part of the advancement is due in part to computers. Computers has rapidly uh, sped up the rate of technological advancement. You know, a lot of things that we implement as far as technology is concerned requires complex calculations. A lot of that grunt work can be performed by computers, um, with with little to no human oversight. So that lends great efficiency to uh, the art of advancing technology. Now we're at the point where we can't say that these are just ramblings of conspiracy theorists. We know now that it's a reality, and what I think can be done to shield the general populace from this impending automation, well, it's not going to be something everybody can or will do, but those that can will have to seek ownership of some sort. You will have to get invested in that particular process somehow, some way. Maybe you'll own land, maybe you'll own facilities that actually are part of the actual manufacturing process. Maybe you'll own rental property for because people will still need places to live. Um, but you'll need to do something if you actually want to maintain some semblance of control of your life and destiny. People relying on a living wage won't be in control of their lives and destiny.
And that's another thing too, man. Um, Homes, the cost of homes, the price of homes, man. I don't know if it's just me, but have you noticed the price of homes is just skyrocketed? I mean,
Absolutely.
I mean, I used to, I'm 40, man. So I remember homes, 150, 160 was a decent, nice home. Nowadays, your average home, you're looking at 250, 300,000. I mean, yes, of course you can get a home for 125, 150, but it's so small you might as well just get you an apartment. A nice size, the same size apartment. And not even have to worry about taxes and all that old weird, all that stuff, man. So a lot of things I'm looking to invest as well. I'm investing in crypto markets, and I'm also investing in looking to invest in real estate as far as duplexes, apartment complexes, things of that nature. Um, to kind of help supplement some things that I have going on, and just me personally, I don't plan on living 100% in the United States, but that's just a personal situation that I that I made a choice that I don't want to do is I want to become an expat, but that's just me.
Well, becoming an expat or becoming expatriated has a prerequisite attached to it. You have to have an income stream. And for a lot of people, their income stream is geographically tied to their particular place of occupation. Some people don't have jobs or don't have occupations where they can actually move about the country. They have to be in a specific area and target a specific demographic. They need to be in proximity to that demographic to provide either goods or services to them. So when you remain in America, you're going to be paying American economy prices. Any solutions for those individuals?
You gotta learn a skill, man. Learn a skill. I'm actually in that situation now. That's why I'm trying to set myself up now because my job is um, location based, so I have to be in a certain location at this moment in time to earn my wage. But I'm doing it. I'm being proactive. I'm being proactive instead of reactive. So now, while things are going good, I'm making good money. I'm setting myself up to have an exit strategy to where I can move out of that situation. I don't want to wait to the last minute. Most people they wait to the last minute. It's kind of like people who try to do an online business. They wait till they get laid off. They want to take all their money and try to invest in some type of online business and lose that money because most of those things they take time, and the reason they fail is because a lot of people they run out of capital or they run out of time. They don't have
Mm-hmm.
enough time for things to kind of um, level out. So they're losing off the bat. So they wait till they lose a job or get laid off, and they say, "Oh well, I'm gonna stay home. Maybe I can start this online business." And they spend all the savings, and after it doesn't work for a month or two, now they're in the hole, and they quit. And next thing the business didn't work. So at this point in the game, I'm being proactive. Things are going good. I'm making good money. Now is the time to be proactive and think about the future. And I understand things happen, and certain people just put in certain situations. But you know, you just gotta, everybody's situation is different. But being proactive is always better than being reactive, in my opinion. So that's what I'm doing. I'm setting myself up to have income. I have several friends that I've networked with that are what's called digital nomads. So these guys, they can go anywhere in the world as long as there's internet connection, and they can live and make money, and have earned a very nice income. So I'm networking, learning things, investing time and money into an exit game, an exit strategy. You know, it's not easy, but I'm getting there.
Well, there you have it. I'm going to keep this particular stream short and sweet. I think we hit on all the highlighted points. For those of you that are watching, thank you for joining me. Those of you catching the rebroadcast, please like, comment, and subscribe. Do you have anything else to add, Bitcoin, before we close it out?
No, that's it, man. That's it. I think you touched on some really, really good points. We're in a very, very um, prime time right now, I think, in my opinion. Um, there are a lot of things out there that we can take advantage of. Um, you know, we have, we have the internet at our fingertips. Um, there's many, many things we can take advantage of and like I said, be proactive. Um, learn, learn a skill. Um, teach your kids a skill at a younger age. At a young age. I mean, nowadays these kids, they're getting these computers, man, early. I mean, 4 or 5 years old, 6 years old. These kids, they learn these computers like no other. So, keep on that track, and and that's, like I said, this is my personal opinion. Everybody's different, but that's what I'm doing. I have one son, so I'm trying to get him. Um, he's 10, so trying to get him in line with which he already is, but trying to keep him on, keep him on that same track, to where he's successful, set him up for success. But I think we're in a prime time, man. We're in a prime time. Um, I know a lot of people don't really like, or don't, they kind of skeptical about cryptocurrencies, and people are always looking at Bitcoin and it's going down and all this and all this and all that. But um, my advice is don't worry about that. Worry about crypto in general and the blockchain. That is that's what you want to look into and study and learn. And several jobs and opportunities is going to come out of blockchain and cryptocurrencies. Um, I'm involved in several of them as we speak, and Bitcoin, at the actual price of Bitcoin, has went down, but my money's up 40%. You know what I'm saying? So um, it's several things out there that people can do. Just do some research. And like I said, that's another conversation we can talk about another time. Yeah, it's really, I think we're in a good time, man. We're in a good time. You know.
Okay. Well, we got one question before we close out. Dave Tao asks, what skills do you think people should be learning to make a living than Bitcoin? Well, let me read that again. What skills do you think? I'm guessing say what skills do you think people should be learning to make a living? Now you say than Bitcoin. I'm wondering, do you mean? Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm gonna read what I think you're trying. I'm gonna say what I think you're trying to say, Dave Tao. Bitcoin Brian, what skills do you think people should be learning to make a living with Bitcoin, or other than what skills people should be learning to make a living other than Bitcoin? That's what I think he meant to say.
Yeah. Yeah. Bitcoin is not the end all. Um, you have trading, which I'm a part of. You have um, Just computer programming, automation. Automation is just like you talked about earlier. Computer automation is, I mean, if you can learn computer automation, then you're set, because that's what it's going to. Um, AI, artificial intelligence, these autonomous cars, autonomous vehicles, um, the grid. Not really sure of the specific name, but that technology, as far as the grid, civil engineering with the roads and our civil structure, as far as the DOT, that's all changing. It's all going to change within the next 20 years or less in a tremendous way. Um, you can look online and see. It's it's crazy, and a lot of it might seem like science fiction, but trust me, trust me when I tell you, it's the truth. You know, back just 50 years ago, if you would have told people, if you would have gave someone a, just a glimpse of how we're living today, they would really think it was witchcraft. Witchcraft. That's the word they would use, is witchcraft. They can't do that.
Facts.
And this is only 50 years ago. So just imagine the next 25 years. Come on. I mean, it's crazy. Uh, I've seen, like I said, I've seen things just in my short stint in that sector that just blew my mind. You know, I've had an opportunity to work offshore, for British Petroleum, offshore, 265 miles out in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico, and I've seen technology out there that just I I can't I can't believe it. You know, I know it's happening, but and I'm looking at it, but I still can't believe it. I don't understand how this is happening. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's crazy. So believe me when I tell you, technology is out there, but those are the sectors that you're gonna have to excel in and get more information on. Automation, um, um, AI, machine learning. Like I said, it's going to be a big term. Blockchain is going to be a big term, and just cryptocurrency in general. Not so much of Bitcoin, if you don't want, but just cryptocurrency in general. There are several different um, um, processes that cryptocurrency offer other than Bitcoin. People just think of Bitcoin, but it's not just Bitcoin.
And just bear in mind, people, that when we say cryptocurrency, cryptocurrency is just a very, very broad term. Everyone is using cryptocurrency. If you have a debit card and you get direct deposit, you're using cryptocurrency. It just happens to be called the American dollar, but it's still cryptocurrency because the American currency is no longer backed by gold. The value fluctuates at the will of individuals who print money. Print more money, the value of the dollar decreases. They shred more money, the value of the dollar increases. It's that simple. It has nothing to do with the amount of gold they have in the gold reserves. It's just global faith in the American economy. That's what keeps the dollar afloat. And I just want to take some time right now to personally thank Milton T. Jackson, who just subscribed to my channel. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and welcome. I'm not able to actually shout out everybody that subscribes to my channel because for some reason, not every subscription comes as an alert. His subscription in particular came as an alert, and so I'm able to see exactly who it is that subscribed. Milton T. Jackson, thank you. And on that note, we're going to go ahead and close this out unless there's any additional comments or questions from the individuals in the live chat. Speak now or forever hold your peace. So again, thanks everybody for joining me. Zero Divide, Dave Tao, Poetic Kales, always a pleasure. Bitcoin Bryant, once again, you came with some great information for the people enjoying this stream and rebroadcast. Thank you so much. Oh yes, thank you, Dave Tao, for your presence. Thank you, and it's our pleasure to provide information. And on that note, it is what 2:00 a.m. here. What time is it where you're at, Bitcoin?
It's 4:02.
4:02. Yeah. So listen, we up in the wee hours for y'all.
Yeah.
We are up in the wee hours for y'all. But we're gonna go ahead and close this out. Until next time, everybody. Thanks.